Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 203 of The Established Facts. This may be a little bit of a shorter one than we normally do, but we're here at Inconjunction. If you are not familiar with Inconjunction, we'll talk a little bit more about that convention as well. But before we get into that, I would love for us to introduce everybody that's sitting around the table, so I'll go ahead and start to my left.
This is Josh.
This is Bryan.
And of course, this is your host, Big Don. Now, as you have heard, we have a new friend, Bryan. Bryan, please give us a little bit of information on who you are and why we want to know who you are and what you're doing.
Sure. My name is Bryan Donihue. I am an author and the owner of Section 28 Publishing, which is a publishing imprint where we do urban fantasy, urban paranormal, both fiction, novels, novellas, stories, as well as a brand new role-playing game that actually dropped here at Inconjunction called Hidden Worlds Incursion.
Hidden Worlds Incursion. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Inconjunction, we'll kind of give you a short blurb about them. It is, I believe this is the 39th Inconjunction that they've had, which is incredible. It's a yearly convention that they have on the northeast-ish side of Indianapolis. Up on like the 21st and Shadeland area for those of you who are locals, and for those of you who are not, I apologize for not giving you a map.
Just look on the map.
That's right. So this is a sci-fi fantasy convention, but I find that there's a lot of other really fun stuff going on as well. A lot of people walking around in costume and cosplay and things like that. But I met Bryan through our friend Jason Piercy, who I think talked to you a little bit in the vendor hall before I got a chance to meet you about what you are, what you're kind of just trying to spread to everybody. And so I would really love to kind of get into, as I like to say, your thing. Like what tell us a little bit about is Broken World. Correct?
World of Incursion.
World of Incursion. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about World of Incursion and kind of what you're bringing to the gaming table.
Sure. So the World of Incursion is my fictional universe. It's a currently is a modern day. I have a timeline that goes all the way back to pre-colonial times, and I have a timeline that in my head goes several thousand years in the future.
Oh, cool.
Which will give you some idea of what's coming. So the World of Incursion set in the modern or near future, the old tagline, 5 minutes in the future type tagline, is much like our world, but the critters that go bump in the night, the myths, the creatures that are the stories of nightmares are true. So what is out there, the myths such as Bigfoot or the Jersey Devil, that sort of thing, those are actually, everything has at least a little bit of a grain of truth in there, and they are potentially true. We also have the idea that the collective psyche, the human collective psyche is powerful enough that sometimes where the barrier between our world and other worlds grows thin, the collective negative psyche can cause a rip and draw energy or creatures through. So that's where we get our vampires, that's where we get our werewolves. That's how the Fae got introduced to our world. Fae, fairies, elves, dwarves, trolls, that sort of thing. And it's also a world where aliens are real, ghosts are real and active, and so it's kind of this world we call it the hidden worlds, the stuff that seems normal on the surface, but they're the things that go bump in the night actually do go bump in the night.
That's very cool. And I think I may have accidentally called it Broken Worlds, but Hidden Worlds
It's Hidden Worlds,
is a much better name.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came up with that one, because mine was garbage. So, one thing that Josh and I love to do when we're talking to people who are kind of introducing new games and new game systems and things like that is to talk to them about, especially because we love role-play games.
Sure.
I love to find out, first of all, what was your inspiration to kind of open the door to the world of Incursion? And then also, why do you feel like the world of Incursion is something different? How is it, things
Sure.
like that? Like kind of open that up, unpack
Sure.
that for us.
It goes back 20 plus years, probably approaching 25 years.
Okay.
I got invited to play a game with a friend of mine named Troy, who's actually with me here this weekend. He was running what he wanted to. They were trying to design a new role-playing game. Originally, it was going to be the working tagline was "Elves in Space," so it was the it was the Tolkien races in a sci-fi setting.
Gotcha.
All right. Worked with him for years. We actually joined the company as a designer and as a partner later. Downside is that we made some poor personnel choices.
Sure.
And some other poor choices, and so we ended up breaking up the company very amiably.
Good.
Okay. Again, he's here with me today,
Right.
this weekend. So very amiable. We remain best friends. But we had the rule. We set the rule legally in documents and everything that all the stuff that we had built together is open for anybody to use. Absolutely anybody can use it. Any of the partners can use it in whatever they want to do. So after I took about a year off of gaming totally because I was burnt out and fried, I started a homebrew campaign, picking and choosing the little bits of stuff that I liked from what we had and developing what needed to be developed. In fact, right now the folder on my Dropbox is actually still listed as homebrew.
Cool.
It's where all the documents live.
Right.
Sure.
So, and I specifically left it that way to remember where it came from.
Yeah.
But fast forwarding a little bit, we started playing this game, played it for a long time. It became this game that it is now, and I was running a campaign. It was a vampire hunting campaign with a bunch of brand new secret agents from this secret government agency that tries to keep a lid on the bad guys, on the monsters, and keep them out of the public eye. Okay, the campaign was fun enough that I decided to write it down and publish it as a book, as a novel. And that's where my first book in the Knightsbane trilogy came from.
Okay,
Incursion Nightmare, and so that kind of started developing the world even more. Well, I'd finally found my setting for the game I was running. So we married the mechanics in the setting. I finally got off my keister and actually developed and wrote it out, because most of us run everything on notes,
Yeah.
But I finally sat down and actually wrote out all the rules, worked with my playtester to really nail down everything, and then wrote the setting for this world that I have. I now had a trilogy, several short stories, a couple novellas, and more bigger plans for. And so going through that, I decided to let's go ahead and publish the game. And so we kickstarted it in March. I kickstarted it when the first draft was basically done. So I knew I would actually be ready for a July launch.
Nice.
So I actually am on time with my Kickstarter.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
That's
fantastic.
unusual.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's where kind of the background of the story is. What makes it different is a brand new mechanic for role-playing games. It is a single D20, no classes, no levels. It is skill-based mechanics, so when you're rolling skill checks, it's actual skill checks. but it is story-based advancement. So what you do during the play session is how you advance your character during the game. So let's say you may be the combat fighter, the gun bunny of the group, and you decide to you don't actually get into a gunplay that session, but you actually do diplomacy. Well, the cool thing is that now you may not gain any points in your gun skills, but you may actually gain diplomacy skills that session. So it is incremental, smaller increments, but it's incremental advancement, but it's session-based.
And I think yesterday when you and I were kind of talking a little bit about like an overview of the kind of mechanics of the game and things like that, one of the things that came to my mind was, or came into our conversation, was you were saying that a lot of the character development is actually in the background development of the character before you ever start playing.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So all of your skills, all your starting skills in this game start with your background. So in character development, you start with the education of the character. How far up they went, what they majored in, if they go to college, did they graduate high school, all of that. Plus you add in all the life stuff, significant others, children, friends, contacts, enemies, and then you start talking about careers. So what do they do for a living? And they may have multiple careers, they may have multiple jobs within a career, but how long have they been in a career? And then you have hobbies. And it's not just a small list of hobbies, it's whatever hobby you want. So we actually, one of the sample hobbies in the book is actually a role-playing gamer.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's real-life stuff.
Yeah.
And all of those, your education, your career, and your hobbies, that is your starting skills, and your starting equipment list. That is all generated by your character background. And then the final part of your character creation is what we call the incursion event. It's how your character encountered the hidden worlds. So did they meet Bigfoot face to face? Did they see an alien? Did they get abducted by an alien? Did they meet a fae? Did they, there's a couple questions that you ask, which does have ramifications for your character.
Uh-huh.
But it's also how your character is now knows that the weird stuff is real.
If you don't mind me taking the liberty of saying this, it reminds me a lot of, and I'm a huge fan of the Supernatural television series.
Yep.
It reminds me a lot of, not necessarily like the main characters and everything, but it's like the people that worked in the comic book store that were affected by the weirdo ghost.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, everything that they had heard about that they thought was just fairy tale and ghost stories is real things. It's no longer fairy tale and ghost stories, and it's like, how does your character deal with that?
Correct.
And where do you go to develop your knowledge and your skills and your things like that in order to be able to cope with that?
Yeah, and that's it's funny that you bring up Supernatural, because yes, that is very much the case. It's how do you deal with that after you've done that as a normal person going about everyday life. And with the supernatural side, with my fiction, I get a lot of people who say, well, that sounds like supernatural. So the Knight's Bane trilogy is about a secret government team of monster hunters trying to save the world and not die. Trying being not,
which is always the goal.
It's always the goal.
It's always the goal.
It's not always the result.
Right.
It's always the goal.
That's right. As we like to say, rule number 1 is don't die.
Rule number 2 is double tap.
There you go. There you go.
So I have people say, well, you know what? This sounds like a lot like Supernatural, and I said, well, it is, but their badges are real.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So, so that's kind of the game. So your character starts out as someone now who is aware of the worlds, and either is going to be part of this secret agency, this government agency that hunts monsters, or part of a private organization, and there are those out there who also hunt monsters with, if not permission, at least ignorance, official ignorance from the government.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. So it's just kind of we know you're here, but we're not going to...
Exactly.
We're just going to leave you alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You do enough good stuff and you don't screw too much up, you're fine. We're going to let you go. The couple other things that make the game unique are our combat system. I describe our combat system as quick and deadly for characters and quick for players. I usually run a table of 6 to 8 players at any one time.
Which is a good amount of players.
That's a big amount of players.
Yeah.
However, our combats run about 45 minutes long.
Okay.
That's it. So it's not...
for example, out of how long of a session would a 45-minute long combat maybe?
My sessions run 3, 4, 5 hours.
Okay.
So
that's
normal
good.
game session.
That's real good.
If we get into combat, I don't fear getting into combat because it's not going to screw up the session.
It's quick and dirty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's quick and dirty, and that's the way we want it. You know?
Right.
We do. Combat is really interesting. It breaks down into each combat round is 4 different
Phases?
Phases. Thank you.
It's all right.
That's all right.
It's been a long day.
I was going to say, it's been a long day, long weekend so far.
There's 4 different phases. First one is declarations. Everybody goes around the table and declares what they're doing for their actions. Mm-hmm. So all of their actions, including movement. Movement is a regular action, not a separate thing. Okay? And then we do initiative. So yes, every round you roll initiative. And every one of your actions happens at a different initiative point based on your initial roll.
So if you had 3 actions, you would roll an initiative for each one of those actions?
No.
Okay.
So if you have 3 actions, let's say you roll a 22 for your initiative. Mm-hmm. Your first action goes off at 22. Your second one goes off at 19. Okay. So
sorry, go ahead. Just to reiterate, you were saying that you have separate actions, and then you're going to roll initiatives for those actions.
So you roll your initiative. Starting with the what you rolled, each action happens it starts with that, and then -3 after that.
Oh, okay.
So that weaves everything together, and that also avoids the old syndrome of it's your turn to go in this fight. I'm going to go get coffee.
Correct.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
We've all been there to that game.
Yeah.
And so that was phase 2 of initiative. Phase 3 is resolution, where you go around in initiative order and resolve your actions. So you roll the dice for your attack, you're going to make your movement, whatever. The bad guys are making theirs at the same time because they live on the same initiative scale. But you don't know the actual resolution. You don't know if you hit. You don't know if they hit you. You know you're making a defensive roll, but you don't know if they hit you or not. That comes in the 4th phase, which is our weaving. That's where, after everybody's done their actions, the GM goes in and weaves the story together. So you took a shot at that big bad guy, however, that vampire came over and hit you, and you took 13 points of damage, while that person took 62 points of damage, and on and on and on. And now, new round, so let's start over. What are you going to do? And that's how combat goes.
Okay.
So it's much more story-based, much more narrative-based than just, I hit, great, you did 14 points of damage, move on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. The other thing that we have is we have an open magic system. We call it faith. And it's not not necessarily faith in a traditional religion. It is faith in something, faith in some belief system, enough faith to get power from it.
Right, to manifest some sort of something. So
I've had characters who had faith in the current campaign I'm running. It's very tongue-in-cheek. I push them into a fantasy realm within the game of Hidden Worlds Incursion. So we're already levels deep of meta, and one of the guys is a GM that GMs Hidden Worlds Incursion. So his faith is in the game system itself.
Wow.
When he casts abilities.
Wow.
He also has to roll a d20 to cast.
Sure.
Doesn't have to roll anything particular on it, but he has to actually roll it to cast. So it's, it doesn't have to be belief in anything specific, but it has to be a powerful belief.
Gotcha.
Sure.
But what we do is it's completely
very Masonic.
It is. We have this. So the system is there's no spell list. You can't create a spell list like this. So it's very open. We have a couple charts. If you want to create a new ability, you get with your GM, and you say, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to be able to throw a fireball. Okay, how powerful do you want it to be? What kind of damage do you want to do? How far away do you want to be able to throw it? How big a spread is it? And how do you want to deliver it? Okay, once you have all those factors, that generates a target number to roll. If you roll that, you learn the ability, you cast it, and that is a target number to cast the ability.
Okay.
That process also generates how much it drains from your, we call it soul pool. It's your magic pool, your mana pool, your whatever.
Right. The resource that you drain in order to actually
It's the
cast
pool
it.
that you drain.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the faith system in a nutshell. Really.
Okay.
The other thing that we have that's very different is we call it's how we measure things. It's one of the ways that speeds up combat. It's one of the ways that makes it much easier as a GM to do.
Oh, right. You were telling me about
It's the curve.
distance. The
Yes.
Yeah, the curve.
So we have the curve. So anywhere we can, we've abstracted specific numbers.
Right.
So the curve, for distance, the curve is something like a distance of 1 is close enough to touch. Distance of 2 is across the room. How big a room? A normal room. I'm not giving you feet. It's not 12 feet 6 inches.
Right.
It's a normal room.
Right.
3 is next room over. 4 is across a yard. How big a yard? A normal yard. Whatever you're thinking will work, 5 is across a parking lot. 6 is a city block.
Right.
And it ramps up from there.
Okay.
So that's that's where that curve takes place. And what that does is that allows you to do a lot more visualization. During combat, you're no longer counting squares. You're no longer counting inches, trying to figure out 5, 10. Oh, wait, that's the second double, so that's 10 more feet.
Right. Yep.
Oh yeah, we know
It's
that.
less,
We know
it's
that.
less mechanically clunky,
Very.
and it's more narrative friendly.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm hearing most of. I'm hearing that from, we've heard it from quite a few different game designers, that there's a lot of, the big guys, your Pathfinders and your Dungeons and Dragons are sticking to the squares and sticking to the numbers because
And
people
that's
like to
fine.
crunch numbers.
Sure. Yeah.
There is a new group of developers coming around that are really trying to focus on. I love how Derek would say it. We're not playing a role-playing game. We are telling cooperative stories.
storytelling.
And that is this is a cooperative game. You're building the world together
Yes.
and having a blast doing it.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
if you die.
So
Twice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We've had that comment quite
Yeah.
a few times. Sometimes death or the mistake is better for the game than the success.
Well, and it's a better narrative.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, if your character happens to die, the rest of the people in your party have something to lose.
So we have a very fun mechanic. Fate has their fate chip that you can make stuff happen automatically. We have what we call a destiny point. We have the destiny rule. The assumption is every character has some higher destiny to be in this world. So one of the resources that you can get in advancement is a destiny point. You start with 1. They are the rarest to get. You have to story play your butt off to be awarded 1 for advancement. But it is, I call it the ultimate get out of death free
Okay.
point. It is both a retroactive retcon or a proactive this will happen.
Gotcha.
When you bring it up, you collaborate with the GM and say, look, here's what I want to do. So let's say you're in a combat situation and your character takes way too much damage and dies. You have a destiny point. Great. I have a destiny point. I'm going to save my character. Well, how did your character get saved? The GM's going to say, all right, how does it work? What happened?
Right.
Now, whatever you agree on goes off automatically. There's no rules involved.
Right.
It goes off.
When the building exploded, I was behind a desk, which happened to be right in front of a door.
The guy who shot me hit me. You know what? I always carry my grandpa's flask
Yeah.
in my
That's
left
cool.
breast pocket.
Right.
It hit the flask. It stopped it.
Right.
Tended the heck out of it.
Right.
But and now I'm mad, and now I got knocked down.
Right.
But I'm saved. It didn't
Yeah.
actually kill me. Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And it's the same way. It's actually proactive as well. You can actually use it. I had instance in one of my games. I had tossed them into a high-rise building in the middle of New York that was actually under attack by demons.
Like you do.
Chaotic Evil GM.
Yeah,
Thursdays.
Just saying.
Thursdays.
Friday nights actually.
Okay, there we go.
They had taken care of a few of the stuff that I thought was going to be harder. They took care of them way too easily. They rolled really well. So I tossed a major demon at them that appeared in the room with them. Everybody was floored. Everybody was immediately hit with this mind-controlling, fear, except for the one guy who actually had a high faith. He said, you know what? I burned all my soul pool. I'm going to use a destiny point. I want to call upon heaven. It was actually, his faith was actually a Christian faith.
Okay.
So, I want to call upon heaven to learn immediately to recharge my pool and to be able to banish this demon and save everybody.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely yes.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. He didn't have to fight it. That was a epic story moment and worth every bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the destiny rule that we have, which is really fun.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really awesome. Well, Bryan, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us and talking to us about the World of Incursion and Hidden Worlds Incursion.
Where can they find you?
Yes.
I'm on Facebook at Incursion Legends, incursionlegends.com, or on Twitter, author Bryan D.
Bryan D. Okay. Yep. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. One quick thing as well. Where else can we see you? What else do you have coming up on the docket?
I have got a lot of cons from here on out, which is awesome. So at the end of this month, I'll be at Kogan Con in Grand Haven, Michigan. It's a little con with a lot of fun.
Okay.
August, I'm at Grand Con in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
That's a gaming convention. I'm a guest there, so that's
Great.
going to be fun. I think September, I believe it's September, is Capital City Comic Con in Lansing.
Okay.
October, I know I'm going to be at Con on the Cob, which is in Cleveland, Ohio.
Love that name. That's incredible.
And I'll tell you what, if you have not looked at their website, holy crap, you're going to laugh.
Okay.
They do not take themselves seriously. It's awesome.
Good.
I can't wait to be there. And then I wrap up my year at Grand Rapids Comic Con in November.
All right.
For now, I may end up
Michigan native?
I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay, very cool.
And what's funny is that a lot of my stories, a lot of the whole second book of my trilogy is in Grand Rapids, and the third book ends up in Grand Rapids.
That's awesome.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? That's awesome. Well, that's an awesome nod to your hometown and your home area. And I want to thank you so much for A, hanging out with us, and B, coming all the way down to Indianapolis for Inconjunction. And we definitely at the Established Facts wish you the best of luck. Definitely go and check out the World of Incursion and Hidden World Incursion and
Section
all of your
28
books.
Publishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
The game will be available, since this is launch weekend, it's not available right now on my website,
All right.
but as of next week, I will have it available for order so you can actually get signed copies.
So mid-July.
Mid-July. You'll be able to order signed copies before they're actually available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Hey, all right. And then once they are released, you'll be able to get them at all your kind of major...
All those places.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing that. And thank you so much, Bryan.
Thank you, guys.
We definitely have had a really good time so far at Inconjunction. We've still got a whole day left, but I don't know how much more recorded content we'll be able to get.
It's all right. First time here.
That's right. First time here. A lot of fun at Inconjunction, and thank you guys so much for listening to episode 203 of the Established Facts. We know this was a little bit shorter, but we hope you enjoy the content. Make sure you go and check out Bryan Donihue and all of his stuff, and we will check you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus